Hey everyone. So my foreign friends are always asking me, are those intense social conflicts and wild mob mentalities we see in K-dramas actually real? Well, yeah, kind of. Today we're looking at a real-life event that honestly feels like it was ripped straight out of a high-stakes thriller. Now, our whole mission here on this channel is figuring out how to protect our psychological peace in an increasingly chaotic world. So let's unpack a real-life Seoul drama together and try to understand the wild psychological dynamics of modern society.
Let's start with this totally fascinating question. How on earth could a perfectly ordinary coffee tumbler and a super simple promotional event trigger a literal national crisis and widespread outrage? Just like the opening scene of a suspenseful thriller, a tiny, seemingly insignificant prop became the spark for a nationwide uproar. So what exactly happened here? Let's investigate.
Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1. The Starbucks Tank Day Controversy.
Every good drama needs an inciting incident, right? Well, this whole saga kicked off with a promotional post referencing May 18th as Tank Day. Now, because May 18th is the date of the historic Gwangju uprising, critics argued this was some sort of malicious, hidden code mocking the democracy movement. But the reality was actually a lot more mundane. You see, Tank Day wasn't just some random, isolated event. It was actually part of a multi-day promotional sequence. We had Fits in One Hand on the 15th, Tank Day on the 18th, and Fits in Your Bag on the 20th. Plus, the tumbler itself had already been a standard, everyday item for years.
So we have to ask ourselves, what was the marketer's actual intent here? Look, if they truly had malicious intent, that would be totally insane. Betraying your employer to express personal politics like that is punishable and just plain wrong. But what if it was just a careless coincidence? While the marketing team could definitely be criticized for being tone-deaf and failing to consider political sensitivities, being incompetent isn't exactly a crime. And the thing is, there is zero definitive proof of intentional mockery here, which means this was highly likely just a really careless accident.
And that brings us to part 2, the start of a massive witch hunt.
This brilliantly illustrates how rapidly a potential marketing blunder can just totally spiral out of control. I mean, almost immediately, the president stepped in and condemned the whole thing as the inhumane behavior of low-class profiteers. Then, the Minister of Justice called it a barbaric act, heavily hinting at government intervention. Without any sort of judicial ruling or actual proof of intent, the state basically declared a single corporation guilty, throwing fuel on the fire of a nationwide boycott.
The public response was nothing short of absolute social hysteria. We started seeing citizen patrols actually emerging to monitor and shame everyday people who were just visiting cafes. A baseball player was absolutely roasted by online mobs simply for holding a cup in a photo. And a musical actress literally had to withdraw from her production after posting a completely innocent picture of her coffee. People were getting severely punished in the court of public opinion for simply buying a drink.
All right, part 3, targeting the Shinsegae chairman.
Now, let me ask you something. Why on earth would people target the top chairman over a single low-level marketing campaign? Think about it. Chairman Chung had already quickly replaced the CEO of Starbucks Korea the second this controversy erupted. Just using basic common sense, it is highly unlikely that a massive corporate group chairman personally instructed a local marketing team to embed hidden mockery codes in a Tumblr promotion, right? Yet, political activist groups were aggressively demanding his public apology and immediate resignation.
Well, according to the sources, political groups use this controversy as a very convenient excuse. The playbook here is actually quite predictable. Chairman Chung had previously expressed some conservative political views. So, rather than addressing the actual marketing issue, activist groups essentially waited for a corporate misstep to target him specifically for his political stance. It's actually a pattern we saw just a few months prior, when another high-profile CEO was aggressively targeted under the guise of a data leak.
Which leads us to part 4, diagnosis, social apophenia. Time to put on our detective hats.
So what happens to a society's collective mind when it's put under this much pressure? Well, take the number 503. Now, what's really interesting about this is that as the hysteria grew, people started inventing the most incredible, wild conspiracy theories. One massive rumor that spread like wildfire claimed that the tumbler's capacity, which was 503 milliliters, was actually a hidden code directly referencing a former conservative president's prison number. I know it sounds like a movie plot.
But let's contrast these supposed detective clues with mundane reality. That 503 milliliter capacity? It's literally just the standard 16-ounce grande size, plus 1 extra ounce of room for whipped cream. In fact, it was designed way before that president was even imprisoned. And what about the claim that launching a 10 a.m. event was referencing the first gunfire of the uprising? Guys,
10 a.m. is just a totally standard store opening time. Oh, and a 21% discount supposedly referencing May 21st events? Again, just a completely standard promotional number. The public was forcing completely unrelated things into these imaginary malicious patterns.
Psychologists actually have a word for this. It's called apophenia. It's the cognitive tendency to perceive meaningful connections between completely unrelated things. Basically, an immense amount of societal stress pushed the public into this state of collective paranoia. They took a totally careless coincidence and hallucinated this elaborate, malicious plot where absolutely none existed.
And finally, part 5, the psychological prescription we need. You know, when a society starts descending into collective hysteria, leaders are supposed to step in, cool things down, and guide us back to rationality. But the sources argue that in this case, leaders did the exact opposite. Instead of calming the waters, they actually inflamed public outrage for political gain, effectively reframing mob aggression and these childish conspiracy theories as righteous indignation.
So, here is the psychological prescription for all of us trying to survive and stay sane in a high-stress society. When you see a mob forming, the best thing you can do is just step back from the collective frenzy. Don't just eagerly jump in to display moral superiority. Seriously, take a breath. Actively question those irrational conspiracy theories and focus entirely on maintaining your own personal rationality and mental grounding. That is how you protect yourself.
I really want to leave you with this powerful thought from our source material. Feeling concerned that the country is becoming increasingly irrational seems to me like the bare minimum of common sense still needed in this unhealthy social climate. Just recognizing that something is deeply wrong with this level of hysteria is actually your psychological shield. It means your internal compass is still working perfectly.
So the next time my foreign friends ask me about the wild drama of Korean society, I'll show them this explainer. It's the reality behind the screen, showing us just how easily anyone can be swept up in the illusion of righteous anger. I want to end by asking you a question to think about. How can you protect your own rationality when the world around you spirals into an outraged drama? Thank you so much for exploring this case file with me today. Keep your mental peace, and I'll see you in the next explainer.